An accidental death and dismemberment claim is a claim that is made by a person who has an accidental death or dismemberment policy that involves a death by accident or a form of dismemberment on a person's body. It could be a loss of limb or a loss of use of a limb. And if you have that kind of injury or that kind of death, then the insurance company is going to pay a benefit under that contract. If you have a denied accidental death or dismemberment claim, you should immediately contact an attorney. We have a lot of experience handling these types of cases. We've been handling these types of cases for many, many years. I've been doing this for 36 years. Some of my lawyers have been handling cases for over 25 years. I think the best thing that they can do at that point is contact us right away when they need to make a claim, because we can help them through the process. If they've already decided to make a claim themselves and they have a denied insurance claim, then they should come to us immediately, because they're going to have, if it's an ERISA claim, they're going to have 60 days to file an appeal. If it's not an ERISA claim, then they don't have to file an appeal and they can come to us and we can take that case and put it into litigation. Ultimately, an insurance company will decide whether or not a particular death or dismemberment was based on an accident. It has to be based on an accidental bodily injury or an accidental death. That might seem obvious to you, but it is not at all. There are a lot of exclusions in these policies, and you have situations that come up. For example, somebody has a medical condition, and we've had these types of claims where you have somebody who's had a heart problem and they are driving a car and they faint because of a heart problem, and then that car runs into a tree and kills them. The question is that an accidental death? Well, you might say, yes, absolutely. The car ran into the tree, that's an accident, died from the accident. But the insurance company almost every time is going to deny that claim, because they're going to rely on an exclusion in the policy that talks about whether it is from a medical condition. And so we get into issues, how important was that medical condition on the cause of ultimately the death? A lot of times in these cases, we have to hire experts. And I know a number of good experts in this area. These cases are difficult, and you need to understand how the laws of the various circuits apply here. The laws involved in accidental death and dismemberment cases are very complicated. If you are involved in a case where you have a policy through your employer, ERISA, this federal law that was enacted by Congress in 1974, is going to apply. That means your case is going to present itself in federal court. The federal circuits throughout the country, and there are many of them, over 13 of them, all of them have different laws. And so it gets very complicated as to what law applies. If you don't have a policy through a group setting, through an employer, and you have what is known as an individual policy, you obtained it, let's say, through an insurance agent, then you're not going to have federal involvement necessarily, and you're going to look to state law. State law has different laws regarding what is an accident, whether or not a particular health condition that intervenes is going to be considered the appropriate cause and therefore excluded. So the case law and the law in this area is very complex, and cases go all in different directions, and you have to have a very experienced lawyer who's dealt with these cases to handle these cases properly. When we get calls on accidental death and dismemberment claims, we generally have clients that are in a very desperate situation. They've lost a loved one. Typically, we see accidental deaths more often than we have accidental dismemberments, because those are not nearly as common. So if somebody comes into us and they've had a loved one that has died, and they think it's an accidental death, I mean, they've just lost somebody close to them. They're sad, they're depressed. They might even be fearful of the future because they need this money and they need to get paid. We deal with people in these situations all the time. We show compassion to them, understanding to them, and try our very best to do everything possible to take their case and to prosecute their case successfully. When a client communicates with us, either by email or telephone, it is very important for us to get back to them. We understand that they're nervous about their cases, they have questions. We're there to answer those questions, and we do it well and we do it quickly. So I pride myself and my firm on our ability to get back to people. Our standard is to try to get back to everyone within 24 hours of the date of the email or the phone call. communication is essential between our clients and ourselves, and so we strive to make that a very important part of our representation. We are a small firm, and because we're a small firm, we're agile. We can make sure that we get things done quickly. We don't have levels of regulatory detail to go through with bigger firms. A lot of times, if you have a decision that needs to be made on a case or whether to take a client, it has to go through a panel, it has to go through higher ups at the law firm. I make those decisions, I make them right away. And because I don't have to answer to anyone else, I can take more risks if I need to on behalf of my clients. And that will inure to their benefit because we normally will get a better result. When you hire my firm, I stay involved with your case. I stay involved with every case in your law firm. However, what I do is I will give the case for day-to-day handling to one of my attorneys. However, I'm there all the time. I'm able to answer any questions that you have. I am able to make sure that everything is done well. I supervise all of my cases and all of my attorneys. When you initially contact our firm, we start the process right away of evaluating your claim. And so it's important that you come to us early, because getting to us early means we can affect the outcome of your claim as early as possible. When you call us, that process begins right away, and we'll have a lot of questions for you. We'll answer questions and we'll decide whether we think you have a case. If we think you have a case, we're going to take your case and hopefully we can reach an agreement and you'll sign authorizations, and then we'll get the appropriate records that we need to pursue the claim. And then when we get all those records, and especially with accidental death and dismemberment claims, we're going to evaluate whether or not we need experts and whether we need a specialized type of medical person, whether we need to contact the coroner or the somebody that put information on the death certificate. We're going to look at all that and we're going to evaluate that, and we're going to come up with an appropriate plan. So after you hire us, we're going to have this plan, and it's going to continue from the very beginning when you first contacted us all the way through the progress of your claim and then into litigation if necessary. And we'll decide how best to do that, and we'll agree on a game plan that gets you the best and most successful result.